Homelessness is on the rise across America. According to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, more than 580,000 people experienced homelessness.
This winter, across America, thousands of families living in RVs are facing something they cannot outrun. Not the cold, but the laws designed to push them out into it. From the East Coast to the Rockies, states aren't offering help. They're enforcing removal. And for many, this will be the winter they don't survive. Massachusetts enters winter 2026 with some of the most unforgiving conditions on the East Coast, and RV dwellers face a system designed to push them out before temperatures do. Boston recorded wind chill levels as low as -25 degrees, while Worcester sat at -18 degrees for multiple nights in early January. At these temperatures, RV plumbing freezes in under 30 minutes, and even fully insulated rigs lose heat faster than furnaces can replace it. The state expanded its winter public safety ordinance in late 2025, authorizing immediate removal of any vehicle used as shelter during snow emergencies. Boston enforced aggressively, over 200 citations and 63 tows in the first 2 weeks of January alone. Police justified the response as safety. RV dwellers saw it as displacement. Housing is the underlying pressure. A one-bedroom apartment in Boston now averages $2,650, requiring annual income levels far above what service workers, retirees, or part-time employees earn. Many older residents who downsized into RVs during the pandemic expected temporary hardship. Instead, they now face winter without legal parking, affordable fuel, or access to open RV parks. Cape Cod, known for milder winters, enacted its own crackdown. Barnstable County banned all winter vehicle dwelling due to storm surge risk, forcing dozens inland. Coastal humidity accelerates heat loss. An RV that maintains 60-degree interior temperature in dry, cold struggles to hold 50 degrees when moisture levels rise above 70%, forcing furnaces to run continuously and depleting propane reserves within days. Massachusetts' crisis is simple. Winter kills, and enforcement gets there first. New Jersey may be small, but its enforcement impact is massive. After several winter collisions involving roadside encampments, the state enacted the Safe Corridors Vehicle Removal Act in October 2025. Under this law, police can tow any vehicle used as shelter along major transit routes, including I-95, I-78, and Route 1. There is no warning requirement. Winter 2026 arrived with freezing rain and single-digit temperatures, and the state began clearing RVs at a record pace. Humidity is the hidden threat. New Jersey winters combine cold with moisture, accelerating heat loss. An RV furnace that maintains 60-degree interior temperatures at dry 25 degrees will fail once humidity rises above 75%, which is common during coastal storms. As a result, RV dwellers burn through propane 30 to 40% faster, raising monthly costs to $300 to $500 even in modest rigs. Urban sweeps intensified in Newark, Jersey City, and Elizabeth as housing shortages worsened. NJ Transit reported 287 RV removals between November and mid-January near critical rail corridors. Many affected residents worked service jobs that required early morning commutes. They lost both shelter and transportation at once. With shelters operating near full capacity and RV parks closed for winter, New Jersey offers no fallback locations. Residents are told to leave, but never where to go. Freezing rain creates another danger. Ice buildup on RV roofs can add 200 to 400 pounds of weight, causing structural damage costing $900 to $2,100 to repair. For thousands, the state's smallest roads lead to the biggest dead ends. New York's winter crisis splits into two fronts: upstate cold and downstate enforcement. Upstate regions like Buffalo and Rochester suffered early storms, with Buffalo surpassing 100 inches of snowfall before mid-January. Temperatures dropped to -10 degrees. Heavy snow added hundreds of pounds to RV roofs, and structural failures became common. Repairs range from $900 to $2,400, more than most RV dwellers can afford. Downstate, New York City treats RV homelessness as a visibility issue. In November 2025, NYPD formed the Oversized Vehicle Abatement Task Force, a unit dedicated to eliminating long-term RV parking. In December alone, the task force issued 412 citations and performed 61 tows, often during overnight hours when residents were least able to respond. Upstate towns followed the trend. Albany, Utica, and Schenectady enacted bans on overnight RV parking, and Adirondack region counties created winter travel buffers, prohibiting roadside parking on snow routes. These rules wiped out the last remaining refuge for those relying on forest pullouts in state land. With one-bedroom apartments costing $2,300 downstate and $1,150 upstate, RV living became the only option for thousands, until winter made that option impossible. Lake effect snow is relentless. Buffalo's snowfall doesn't just bury RVs, it traps them. Once snow accumulates above axle height, vehicles become immobile, making compliance with relocation orders physically impossible. Towing fees range from $500 to $1,200, costs most dwellers cannot pay. New York's crisis combines extreme weather with extreme enforcement, leaving RV dwellers pinned between unaffordable housing and roads that no longer allow them to exist. Pennsylvania's winter danger comes from geography. The Appalachian corridor funnels Arctic air directly into valleys where RV dwellers often park due to lower rents. In January 2026, Scranton hit -9 degrees, while rural mountain counties fell to -20 degrees. Temperatures that freeze RV tanks, batteries, and lines long before sunrise. Philadelphia expanded its street sweeping ordinance in late 2025, authorizing the removal of any oversized vehicle obstructing emergency lanes. During a single storm cycle in January, the city towed 71 RVs, many containing residents who had been pushed off residential streets weeks earlier. Pittsburgh followed with its own enforcement near the Monongahela River, citing flood risks. Rural counties also cracked down. Luzerne, Lycoming, and Cambria banned roadside vehicle dwelling along state forest perimeters after emergency services struggled to reach disabled RVs during storms. These areas had served as quiet refugees for years. Overnight, they became off-limits. Moisture is Pennsylvania's hidden enemy. Freeze-thaw cycles cause roof seals to split and siding to buckle, leading to water intrusion repairs costing $400 to $1,200. Many simply abandon their RVs when they become unsafe, joining the state's unsheltered population. With shelters operating at 115% capacity and RV parks closed until April, Pennsylvania gives RV dwellers nowhere to endure winter safely. Mountain valleys trap cold air. Temperatures in these low-lying areas can be 10 to 15 degrees colder than surrounding elevations, creating microclimates where RVs freeze faster and propane depletes in half the normal time. Ohio's winter is a constant battle between polar vortexes and freezing rain. Columbus endured 4 consecutive nights at -12 degrees, while Cleveland recorded snowfalls exceeding 18 inches overnight, burying entire rows of RVs under heavy ice-packed drifts. Once snow compacts against roof vents and furnaces, heat systems suffocate, making interior temperatures drop dangerously fast. On January 1st, Columbus activated its Mobility Compliance Directive. RVs used as dwellings must relocate every 48 hours, regardless of weather or mechanical condition. Towing fees range from $350 to $900 depending on distance. Many RV dwellers working fixed schedules simply cannot comply. Economic pressure adds fuel to the crisis. Tech, retail, and healthcare restructuring led to 15,000 job losses statewide, pushing thousands into RVs they expected to use only temporarily. Meanwhile, Ohio's rental market rose 9%, and energy costs spiked during the coldest months. Propane becomes a survival currency during vortex events. A household using 2 30-pound tanks per week in December burned through 5 per week during the January freeze. At $22 per tank, basic heating can exceed $440 per month, more than some part-time workers earn. Lake effect snow creates another layer of danger. Cleveland and areas near Lake Erie experience sudden, intense snowfall that can dump 6 to 12 inches in hours, trapping RVs before residents can relocate. Once buried, extraction costs exceed $600. Ohio illustrates the brutal reality. Extreme weather doesn't need extreme enforcement to be deadly, but in 2026, residents face both at once. Indiana entered 2026 with thousands of residents living in RVs after manufacturing layoffs eliminated 9,000 jobs in late 2025. Many affected workers purchased older travel trailers as temporary shelter, expecting to return to steady housing. Winter made that impossible. Indianapolis enacted Ordinance 24-988, banning street-side RV parking between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. Enforcement began immediately. In the first 14 days of January, the city impounded 112 RVs, often during nights when temperatures fell below -10 degrees. Freezing rain is Indiana's signature threat. Storms in early January coated RV roofs and slide-outs in dense ice, causing mechanical failures that cost $300 to $1,200 to repair. Many residents simply cannot afford the cost and lose mobility the moment their slides freeze or their jacks lock. Once stuck, the next sweep becomes inevitable. Propane shortages hit central Indiana as demand surged. Prices climbed to $4.05 per gallon, and humidity forced furnaces to run nearly continuously. A 30-pound tank that normally lasts 4 days emptied in 1 to 2 days, raising heating expenses beyond viability. Small towns such as Anderson, Kokomo, and Muncie passed local ordinances banning overnight RV parking near commercial corridors, removing the last low-visibility refuge. Ice accumulation creates deadly conditions. Once ice forms on exterior vents, carbon monoxide risks increase dramatically as exhaust systems become blocked. Several RV dwellers required emergency medical treatment in January due to CO exposure. Indiana shows the cruelty of winter combined with logistics. When your home needs to move to remain legal, but winter makes movement impossible. Illinois' RV homelessness crisis revolves around lake-effect cold and sweeping enforcement. Chicago entered winter 2026 with wind chills dropping to -25 degrees, cold enough to freeze RV water systems in under 45 minutes. Once lines crack, repairs cost $350 to $900, far beyond what most RV dwellers can afford. Chicago passed Ordinance 2025-317, banning RV habitation in industrial corridors and enforcing 48-hour movement requirements, even during snow emergencies. Suburban counties DuPage, Kane, and Will expanded towing authority, allowing removal of any RV impeding plow operations. Towing costs range from $450 to $800, with storage fees at $60 per day. The rental market intensified the crisis. Illinois saw a 12% statewide rent increase in 2025, pushing a basic Chicago studio to $1,550 per month. With average service wages around $17 per hour, thousands were priced out and turned to RVs as their only remaining shelter. By early 2026, an estimated 14,000 Illinois residents were living in RVs, double the figure from 2022. Chicago shelters hit capacity in November, and overflow centers filled by mid-December. Without options, RV dwellers cluster along expressways or industrial roads where sweeps occur weekly. Lake Michigan creates brutal wind conditions. Sustained winds of 25 to 35 miles per hour off the lake can drop RV interior temperatures by 15 to 20 degrees within an hour, overwhelming heating systems and forcing residents to burn through propane at unsustainable rates. Illinois' winter doesn't just challenge survival, it denies stability. The moment an RV freezes, enforcement steps in, leaving families with no shelter, no recourse, and no time to recover. Missouri's crisis centers on St. Louis and Kansas City, where rapid enforcement escalation began in late 2025. St. Louis passed its Public Safety Corridor Ordinance, banning RVs from all major commuter routes. Kansas City followed with its own version, increasing fines to $200 per violation and authorizing towing after the second offense. Winter 2026 made the situation explosive. St. Louis experienced its coldest December in 4 decades, with temperatures staying below freezing for 22 consecutive days. RV plumbing systems failed at unprecedented rates. Repairs ranged from $500 to $1,500, pushing dwellers deeper into instability. Floodplain encampments along the Missouri River had previously offered refuge, but rising insurance liabilities forced counties to clear them. Nearly 300 RVs were displaced in January alone. Propane became another obstacle. Missouri's heating demand spike raised prices to $4.20 per gallon, and older rigs in humid environments consume 25% more heat than in dry cold. A household using 2 30-pound tanks per week in December burned through 3 to 4 tanks weekly during January's deep freeze. Humidity is Missouri's hidden weapon. Moisture infiltrates every seal, every seam, every gap in older RVs, accelerating heat loss and forcing furnaces to run continuously. The result is faster propane depletion, higher costs, and mechanical failures. Missouri's winter isn't the coldest in America, but it is one of the most destructive because moisture infiltrates everything, and enforcement leaves dwellers nowhere dry to go. Kansas winters are defined by volatility. Arctic blasts dropping temperatures to -10 degrees, followed by freezing rain that destroys RV seals and roofing. In 2025, Wichita and Topeka passed synchronized RV parking ordinances requiring movement every 24 hours, with fines of $75 to $150. Rural counties adopted similar rules after Kansas Highway Patrol warned that abandoned RVs along US 54 and I-70 created hazards during whiteout conditions. By January 2026, the state recorded over 400 RV tows related to winter storms. Housing collapse worsened the conditions. Agricultural downturns cut farm income by 18%, causing ripple layoffs in manufacturing towns. The result was a surge of vehicle dwellers, estimated 11,000 statewide, far exceeding Kansas's shelter capacity of 3,100 beds. Wind is Kansas's great danger. Sustained winds of 25 to 40 miles per hour, common across the prairie, can drop interior RV temperatures by 20 degrees in minutes once propane runs out. Frozen tanks and cracking water lines are routine, with repairs costing $300 to $900 most cannot afford. Propane consumption skyrockets during wind events. A tank that normally lasts 4 to 5 days empties in 2 days when winds hammer the RV's exterior. At $3.85 per gallon, heating costs become prohibitive for families already stretched thin. Kansas shows how a state without extreme elevation can still become deadly when wind, ice, and policy converge. Oklahoma's winters swing violently. Ice storms coat RV roofs in hundreds of pounds of load, collapsing older structures. Tulsa and Oklahoma City passed vehicle habitation restrictions throughout 2025, citing rising encampments along floodplains. Tulsa's Ordinance 2025-44 made overnight RV parking illegal within 1,000 feet of any residential zone. Oklahoma City implemented a 48-hour relocation requirement, with towing after non-compliance. During the January 2026 ice storm, Oklahoma City towed 58 RVs in a single weekend because frozen-out residents could not move them. Oklahoma's economic decline accelerated the crisis. After aerospace cutbacks and manufacturing contractions, unemployment in affected counties rose to 7.9%, pushing thousands into temporary vehicle living. But winter turned temporary into catastrophic. RV propane use skyrockets during Oklahoma's ice storms because humidity increases heat loss. A tank that lasts 4 days in dry cold lasts 2 days in freezing rain. With propane at $3.85 per gallon, winter heating now costs many RV families $300 to $450 per month. Ice accumulation is the silent killer. Once ice forms on roof vents and furnace exhausts, heat systems suffocate, causing interior temperatures to plummet. Repairs cost $400 to $1,200, far beyond what most dwellers can afford. Oklahoma's policies don't acknowledge this. Enforcement continues regardless of weather, forcing people to choose between moving a frozen RV or losing everything inside. New Mexico's crisis is shaped by elevation and austerity. Albuquerque sits at 5,300 feet, and its winter lows frequently hit 10 to 20 degrees, with wind chill dipping below zero. In December 2025, the city passed Ordinance 23-112 prohibiting RV habitation on any street for more than 24 hours, with fines of $150 and towing after the second violation. Albuquerque's budget issues meant shelters reached capacity early. With only 1,700 beds statewide and an estimated 6,200 people living in RVs or vehicles, most individuals simply had nowhere to go. Santa Fe began its own enforcement in 2026, clearing RVs from underpasses and arterial roads used by commuters. Rural New Mexico used to offer relief, but forest land closures changed the equation. The Carson and Santa Fe National Forests now shut down major dispersed camping areas each winter due to wildfire rehabilitation and soil freeze concerns. Propane is another crisis. Small towns like Gallup and Farmington rely on limited distributors, and winter 2026 shortages pushed prices from $2.20 to $4.10 per gallon. A single cold snap drained households' heating budgets within days. Elevation amplifies every problem. Furnaces work 15 to 20% harder at 5,000 feet, burning through propane faster while providing less heat. The combination of thin air, limited shelter capacity, and strict enforcement creates impossible conditions. In New Mexico, the issue isn't visibility, it's capacity. The state simply cannot house the number of people winter is pushing out of their RVs. Arizona isn't hot everywhere. Northern Arizona, Flagstaff, Williams, Prescott, experienced nighttime lows of 8 to 15 degrees throughout winter 2026. RVers who fled expensive coastal states expecting sunny desert refuge instead found freezing mountain towns with strict parking bans. Flagstaff City Council approved the Vehicle Habitation Emergency Measure in October 2025, making overnight RV parking illegal anywhere within city limits unless in a designated lot, of which there are only 47 legal spaces. Prescott followed with its own ordinance, and Sedona expanded its tourist area restrictions to include all oversized vehicles. Propane is another failure point. Northern Arizona's high elevation reduces furnace efficiency by 12 to 18%, meaning more fuel is required to maintain the same interior temperature. A family that typically uses 2 propane tanks per week at sea level burns through 3 to 4 in Flagstaff. At $21 per tank, that's $250 plus monthly just to heat an RV. Meanwhile, Phoenix and Tucson intensified enforcement in 2026 due to rising encampments along canal systems. Phoenix towed 96 RVs in January alone under its new public safety mandate. Snow is a real threat in northern regions. Flagstaff recorded 42 inches in December, adding dangerous weight to RV roofs and blocking exits. Many older RVs suffered structural damage, with repairs costing $800 to $2,000. Arizona represents a dangerous contradiction: warm reputation, cold reality, and policies that remove the last affordable housing option for thousands. Utah's RV homelessness crisis is driven by 2 forces: high elevation and aggressive urban enforcement. Salt Lake Valley saw overnight lows in the single digits throughout December 2025, while high elevation towns like Park City and Heber City dropped below -10 degrees. RV water systems fail rapidly in these conditions, and frozen tanks cost $600 to $1,400 to repair, money most dwellers do not have. Salt Lake City passed Ordinance 2025-919, banning overnight RV parking within 600 feet of schools, parks, churches, daycares, and homeless shelters. The buffer zones effectively cover most of the city. Enforcement began January 3rd with coordinated sweeps across 7 districts. Utah's housing market is the real driver. A 1-bedroom apartment in Salt Lake now averages $1,720, while service industry workers earn about $16.50 an hour, making traditional housing mathematically impossible. RV living became the fallback, then the target. Rural Utah used to offer escape. BLM lands across Emery, Carbon, and San Juan counties hosted long-term campers for years. But increased tourism and wildfire concerns led BLM to reduce winter stays from 14 days to 5 days, with mandatory 30-mile relocations. Altitude makes everything harder. At 4,200 to 7,000 feet, furnaces consume 18% more propane to produce the same heat. Cold, dry air cracks seals faster, and snow accumulation damages roofs. When elevation meets enforcement, survival becomes a logistical puzzle with no winning solution. South Dakota's crisis grew quietly, then suddenly. Sioux Falls, Rapid City, and Aberdeen all passed vehicle habitation restrictions between September and November 2025, citing increases in RV-based homelessness following regional layoffs. Winter amplified everything. January lows hit -19 degrees statewide, with wind chill dropping to -35 degrees. The problem is structural. South Dakota lacks large metro shelters. Total statewide capacity is just 2,400 beds, while estimated RV dwellers exceed 7,000 by early 2026. Cities filled, counties followed. Minnehaha County began enforcing a 72-hour mobility rule for RVs on public land. requiring relocation even during blizzard conditions. Violations carry fines of $125 per day, and 3 violations allow towing. Fuel costs create impossible trade-offs. A 28-foot RV idling for heat burns 0.8 gallons per hour, meaning $100 plus in fuel per week simply to prevent frostbite. Propane shortages hit Rapid City during a January cold snap, with prices rising from $2.60 to $4.85 per gallon. Even rural escape is gone. Black Hills National Forest implemented a winter parking restriction to protect road integrity, closing off many of the dispersed camping areas RV dwellers relied on. Wind chill is the invisible enemy. At minus 35 degrees, exposed skin freezes in under 10 minutes, and RVs lose heat faster than furnaces can replace it. Once propane runs out, interior temperatures drop to dangerous levels within an hour. South Dakota shows how quickly a low-cost state becomes deadly when weather, enforcement, and lack of infrastructure collide. North Dakota winter is not a season. It is a threat environment. Towns like Minot, Williston, and Dickinson saw temperatures fall to minus 25 degrees, with wind chill at minus 55 degrees, among the lowest recorded in the country in early 2026. At those temperatures, RV furnaces cannot maintain survivable interior heat, even running non-stop. A 30-pound propane tank, which lasts 5 to 6 days at moderate cold, empties in 14 to 18 hours under these conditions. Local governments responded with safety-driven enforcement. In December 2025, Williams County activated its Blizzard Habitat Clearance Order, allowing deputies to relocate or tow any vehicle used as housing along highways or oilfield access roads. Officials said it prevents deaths. RV dwellers say it prevents survival. Oil patch layoffs in late 2025 pushed an estimated 3,200 workers into temporary vehicle living. North Dakota's rental market, once affordable, spiked after renewed drilling activity. A minimal apartment in Williston runs $1,450, while entry-level wages hover around $16 an hour, making traditional housing unattainable for displaced workers. Snow emergencies compound the crisis. Once snow reaches 6 inches, cities can tow any obstructing RV without notice. In Fargo, 37 RVs were seized during a single storm cycle in January. Frostbite becomes a certainty, not a risk. At minus 55 degrees wind chill, exposed skin freezes in under 5 minutes, making even brief trips outside life-threatening. North Dakota's message is simple. Winter won't wait for you, and neither will enforcement. Wyoming's crisis is defined by one thing: exposure. Not poverty, not density, exposure. This winter delivered wind chill readings of minus 35 degrees to minus 45 degrees across the Central Basin, temperatures where frostbite begins within 4 minutes and RV insulation becomes meaningless. The state's Winter Hazard Removal Protocol, updated October 2025, authorizes law enforcement to tow any vehicle deemed non-operational on a snow-impacted roadway. In practice, that means if your RV won't start at 3 a.m. during a freeze, it's gone by sunrise. Tow operators in Wyoming are scarce, which means long hauls. A typical removal from the I-80 corridor to the nearest impound averages $750 to $1,100, plus $40 per day storage. Most RV dwellers simply abandon the vehicle once seized. Housing offers no escape. After the 2025 mining sector restructuring, rents in Gillette, Casper, and Rock Springs rose 18 to 27%, pushing low-wage service workers into RVs they cannot winterize. Shelters statewide have capacity for just 1,900 people, but estimated vehicle dwellers exceed 4,600, leaving thousands parked along rural county roads where snowplows enforce strict right-of-way rules, forcing relocations every 48 hours. Wind makes cold lethal. At minus 40 degrees with 30 miles per hour winds, wind chill hits minus 70 degrees, temperatures that freeze exposed flesh in under 2 minutes. RVs lose all interior heat within 30 to 45 minutes once propane fails. Wyoming isn't a state where you live in an RV during winter. It's a state where you weather it, one night at a time, until enforcement or exposure ends the attempt. What you saw today isn't just a crisis, It's a warning about where the country is heading. Which state's situation shocked you the most? Tell us in the comments. And don't miss our next video, where we expose the financial pressures pushing thousands more toward RV living in 2026. See you there.